want to speak about a chapter in the Bible about Jeremiah and the end time 49 and 50 and 51. I want to speak about a little bit that in the university in Hungarian 2004 I was go in Szeged. I was wrote many books about the Bible because I studied theology, and I wrote many scripture about the Bible as a theologist, and the teacher in Szeged, Molnár Sándor, always spoke to me that I will become problems in the world because I wrote about the real God and the real law. But in the schools, the teacher was told me they teach not the real law and they teach not the real God teaching. They teach in the schools the Vatican teaching and the Vatican thinking, and I will become problems when I believe in the real God. And in the university, the Nazi teachers always give me suffering because the Vatican rule every schools on earth. The Vatican control the study plans, and I have always fighting with this Vatican Institute because the Vatican teaching against the real God's teaching. And after the diploma, the decan was helped me that I become the diploma as a theologist. And I was talk many times with the decan also and with Molnár Sándor also that I not just read this about the Bible, I know that is exactly God's will, what is also written by all the prophets. And when the Vatican think or teach another things on the schools, then is the Vatican against God of Israel, and this will be a very big problem. After the diploma, I go to München. I was work in München. I wrote many books, and everybody can ask my mother also, and my family and my friends. But I have all the paper that I was work as a diploma psychologist with old sick people who have demence, and they was very old and sick, and I was work by Adax firma nursing and take care about old sick people. And I haven't now more than 20 years human right, and I live alone, nobody touch me, and I wrote a book in München. I wrote many books, but I wrote a book about this chapter that Israel and Jerusalem belong to God and Canaan must be built. And then I sent this book to Hungarian to a friend who can make a website. And I was told, I sent him CDs with a lot of books. Please put all these books about Jerusalem and Canaan on my website. Make a website and put the books there. The people thought that Tibor make a website and put all these books there, but then somebody deleted all these books. Now you can just read 3 books on my website, but I was wrote more than 20 books. Somebody was deleted and put Evil Beach on the website, Evil Blonde Beach, even when I judge all these evil things because it's against God's law. I wrote about Canaan and Musa law, and I have many problems. Therefore, I go back to Hungarian. I was asked the computer man who make the website who put this evil beach on my website, because these books what I wrote is from God of Israel, and who put evil beach on God's website is mental sick, is Satan himself. And I cannot delete it because I cannot delete it. I haven't the passport to this website. And then the Nazi government in Hungary cut cut all my ID card, bank card, passport, birth paper. They cut all my documents and then send me letters from Budapest when I not stop preaching and when I not stop writing about the Bible. They kill me as the last dirty Jew. I have many court papers for this. I always go to court 7 years and I was asked with my neighborhood, the Vatican Roman Catholic Church, why they make this with me, because I know, because God is not blind, that they read my books and they are not want to give the glory about the real God and not want to buy the third temple because they worship their own Catholic sun God temple and they not wait for God's returning. And they are jealousy that I am wrote about the real God and the real church and not the Catholic Yazabeth Sun God church, because I judge the Vatican. The Vatican is the big beach from Apocalypse 17, who was boiled in Rome, in the big city of 7 years with the golden cup and kill all the holy people in the Holocaust with Hitler. And to their hand belong all the holy blood on earth, what they kill in the Holocaust. So I wrote many books, but the Nazi government deleted, and the Vatican himself was told me they not want to help me because they not believe in God and Musa law. They worship the Popes, and they say to me that the Popes is God, and the Catholic Church is the only church who are holy. They not want to help me to buy the third temple, because the Vatican on 7 years is the real temple, the real church, and not what I want to buy with God in Jerusalem. And they make me shit with lies. Now I live 7 years alone, not 7 years, in Hungary 7 years I live alone in the wood. But here I am now 4 years in Stuttgart, no human right, nobody helped me. All my life I'm suffering for Israel, and Israel not realize the truth, who I am, even when I told it every day and wrote it. And I suffer for Israel, God, the real God, and not a mentastic popes who think that he is the popes, that the popes himself is God. He's nothing, and I know their deeds. What they do for my 7 eyes is against the law. And it's a question. Now I want to speak about this book, chapter Jeremiah, the end time, the wars in Syria, Damascus, and Lebanon is written. And I wrote about this also books. And it's a question, who deleted these books? Who? Maybe Arabic people, or maybe Nazi people, or who deleted these books, because all these books, what I wrote, is also written by the prophets, and it's God's will. And Benjamin, I not come to destroy this, Israel, no, I come to buy Canaan without blood and buy the third temple, and I not want to buy the third temple for a pedophile popes, a mentastic popes, to think that he is God himself. I want to buy it to God of Israel. And when Israel not listen, Israel will destroy themselves and not I am. So I want to speak about this chapter. Here is written by Jeremiah, who study theology must know exactly the old maps also. What is written in the Bible about here is just found on an old map, because now the lands are not the same name. And example, Medien is Iran, or Hamad is also a land what you can Google. But example, Elam is the Persia Gulf, and now you not found these cities or lands on a new map. when you study theology, you will found these lands just on a very, very old map, and you will see when you read it that this verse, what is here prophesied, is happen now for your eyes. It's happening, and it's God will also, because the prophets also was wrote that God wanted so in the end time this verse. And I wrote about this, and I think just mental sick Nazis or Vatican deleted this, who not want to give the glory the real God, who want to return and play a false God in this Jezebel sun god temple, and make false laws. These golden bulls from Vatican is against Moses' law. But I begin here. Jeremiah 49, he see the end wars for Canaan. He was so that on the end time in Damascus, Hamat is now Syria, this land, will be a very big wars, and Damascus, this city, will be fall, and there will be no one can live, and a lot of refugees, a lot of immigrants will run from Damascus to the European Union, and it's happening now more than 5 years. These wars are happening, and I wrote about this, but they deleted. And it's written also that on Hatzor and Kedar will be also a war, and this is the Arabia lands, the Golan Heights and the Arabia lands. And when you read here, Elam, the word go against Elam, and Elam is an old name. Where is now the Persia Gulf? There is Elam. And here is written there will be wars on the end time. The Persia Gulf Wars is about the oil wars, what is now happening, about the oil wars. But is written, God will sit there also on a throne and make their judgment against all these things. And then Jeremiah 50 is the end time, when all these wars will be happen on the end time. Syria, Damascus, all these wars in Lebanon and Iran and Persia Gulf, Elam, Hassor, Kedar. Then Jeremiah see the last big war against Big Babylon. And Big Babylon is a land in Chaldea. Chaldea is a Kremer land where they sit on a big ocean. It's USA. And USA will be fall on the last day by the kings of Medien. A red army is written in Jeremiah 50 and 51. After the wars in Canaan, the kings of Medien will revenge, and Big Babylon will fall, who make all these wars. And this is not just written by Jeremiah, it's written by Jesaja, also 13. And when you study an old map, the land of Medien is Iran, and the kings from east, China also. And therefore the prophets always say from the land of Median, a very old army will revenge, a red army, for all this trouble. And in the Apocalypse is written that on the end time God will draw up the big Euphrates. It's a big river, and it will be a sin to the king of Median to revenge for his temple, What does it mean that God will revenge for his temple what they not want to buy it? It's meaning that God want to buy the third temple, but nobody listen. Nobody listen and nobody want to buy it for God, for Allah, His temple. And therefore God will revenge. When nobody wait for God's returning and everybody worship a fucking popes in a sun god Jezebel temple, then there is no faith in God. And this is pains God, and I wrote about this 20 years. And the Vatican himself, the Roman Catholic Church, I go in Iking, I go to the Roman Catholic Church, I was talk with the priest, why they not help me to buy God's temple, because it's God's will, the third temple, what Ezekiel also saw. They say they not want to help me because they are God and they have a temple. Yes, they sit in a sun god temple and the Pope himself sit in this snake hole on Satan's throne. But this temple is not my God temple who sent me. God's temple will be built on Jerusalem on the mount, and it will have 30 big rooms from all the prophets who return. And they not want to help me because they worship Satan. The priest himself told me they worship the popes and not the real God, and they not want to give the glory about the real God. So now is the question, Israel, on which side they are? On God of Israel who sent me, or in a fucking satanistic Vatican Jezebel Baal temple? Because the Pope is not God. He is a Gentile Goyim who destroy my law. And the Gentile Goyim not want to buy the real God's house and rule everybody against me. Menhard Sándor, priest in János was told me. Menhard Sándor from János the priest, was read all the books what I wrote about the Bible, and he himself was told me, I am true because all the things what I wrote is written by the Bible, but they hate God and Moses. A priest told me this, they hate God and Moses, and they worship a Nazi church. Menhard Sándor was told me this, and also that they will not allow me that I become in Europa human right, because I am destroy the Catholic Church and I want to buy the another church. And yes, it's maybe true. I want to buy the another church because this church not belong to God. This is a Jezebel temple full of bars and statues, but God of Israel forbid. And it's a Jezebel sun god Nimrod temple, where they make evil things, sacrification, children raping, and evil things, because God is not blind. And it's written that God's temple, how they must be look like in Ezekiel, Torah, the third temple. And it's also written that God's temple will be built on Jerusalem, not in Rome. Rome who destroyed the temple and the real law in Jerusalem with the army. Rome belonged to Colosseum, as I wrote, and not to God. And I not lie to Israel, and I will never lie to another people, also not, that these wars was written for more than 3,000 years, what now has happened. And everything is written in the Bible, everything, every verse, and is also written that when they not want to buy the temple, God will revenge with the kings of Medien for his temple. Because what's this for a religion? When every shit goyim church have a goyim church, a sun god Nimrod temple, everywhere cathedrals and moshes, but God who created the earth, God who was told Moses how must be look like his house, not can become it. There is no faith on earth. There is no Jew, no Christianity. They're just all the Illuminatis on earth, but not real humans who who maybe they just play a cabaret, they say on the TV that they are worship God and religious, even when inside they are evil and not do it. And I feel sorrow just because I wrote all my life about God and Canaan and God's will. I wrote more than billion scripture. 20 years I wrote about God's will and the third temple. And everybody was hit me. In the university, the Nazi teachers was hit me. They say, the Nazi teachers say they are Hellenistic and they are worship this Hellenistic Bacchanalia, Zeus cult. The Vatican worship Baphomet, or I don't know what they worship. But everybody worship a fucking Goyim cult. And I wrote about God and nobody helped me. How can they say that they belong to God when they hate the real God and worship bars and Goyim cults? This is impossible. Worship a bar, a fantasy legend, and worship the real God. You must choose, everybody must choose God and the Holy Law, or Goyim cult, some god Nimrod cult, or Zeus Hellenistic cult, or Baphomet cult, or such things. And yes, I just know Iran just will be attacked, Benjamin, when Israel hate their own God who sent me. Because when God not become his will, and I ask now more than 20 years. 20 years I wrote alone, God need his third temple. And nobody help. And God will revenge, not because he not love Israel, no. When Israel not wait for the God, for the real God, and not want to build God's house, there is no faith. A Jew without the temple, I think, is not a Jew. A Jew just belong to God when they worship God. And when they not worship God, they belong to the Goyims. And now, maybe it's pain you when I told you this, but this is the truth. What God feel inside, because I know his heart. When Jews worship Satanistic popes and Nazis and Gypsy Orban Victor, who want to kill me. Gypsy Orban Victor want to kill me because I'm a Jew and I wrote about the third temple. And Orban Gypsy Victor sent me letters from Budapest that I'm the last dirty Jew that they want to kill because they are all Satanistic and they hate the real God and they are Nazis and they want to really kill me. I haven't documents. And when you give a gypsy your hand and the sun god worshipper, evil popes your hand, but not the God of Israel who sent me, you will destroy yourself, your land, not I am, Ben, not I am. The kings will just attack the another kings when Israel betray their own God. It's written that God will revenge about the temple because when Israel made the temple unclean, it was always the same. Jeremiah go to the king on that time. You worship Baals on the temple. God will destroy the temple when you make about his holy temple a Baal, Baphomet temple. The king was prisoner Jeremiah. Jeremiah was also 20 years in prison without human right as I am. But I cannot lie or telling fantasies or telling evil shit, but just because Israel want to hear it. I telling the truth, what God told me and showed me. And when they deleted my books is not my problem. I think everybody deleted just because they hate God. They hate God. Who belong to the real God, wait for the real God. And who belong to the real God and the law, and who is a really Hebrew in his heart, a really good man and Hebrew, will listen me, because I never told something who is against the law and God's will. I told you more than 20 is God's will. The Illuminati plan is also written. It's the fourth kingdom from Daniel, the last one. And this fourth kingdom is not the same kingdom that God wants to build when he returns. The fourth kingdom is the last kingdom from Satan, but God wants to build a kingdom that is everlasting, and the resurrection will be happened even when the Jews not believe it, and who worship Baals or false popes or false sun god's temple, even when they have a Jewish passport, will not resurrected. This is the truth, and God will not judge by the passport or by the skin or by the outside. He judged by the heart, as written. And I come to save Israel. I wrote it always because I not lie to them, and when they not can listen the truth and God's will is not my problem. Everybody can hit me all my life. I will not deny my God. Never. I will not betray him. I cannot betray his law and his holy will. God himself showed me the temple in vision. I saw the third temple inside, also the big 30 big rooms. I saw it. Which material, how must be look like. I saw it. And when nobody want to know it, how must be look like God's temple, there is no faith, no faith. I live now 20 years alone, without love, without human right. I haven't a friend, nothing. I just wrote about God. And therefore they try to prison at me and hit me, cut all my documents, no human right. And just make my life shit with lies and evil pictures. They put evil pictures on my website, but I cannot delete it. Just because the Vatican, I think the Vatican is my biggest enemy, who not wait for God, because when God, the real God, return in Jerusalem, then the sun god temple will fall in 1 hour. In 1 hour. Thank you.